players should not be selected to the T20 International West Indies team unless they have played at least 2 test matches the previous year and 1 first-class matches, providing if they are called to the test team and don't come to the test team, they should not be selected for the T20 international team. However, if they are not called to the test team, you can go ahead and pick them to the T20 national team. What is your view on that? Because it is not as strict and as strong as your position.
Okay, so from what I'm getting, they're tying a player's ability to play on the T20 international team to them making themselves available to play either test cricket or white ball or ODI cricket. That's what they're saying, right?
Well, I don't think they're necessarily tied in, because they go ahead and say that if the player is not called to the test team, then it's okay for him to play T20 international.
That's what I said, making themselves available. Not necessarily having to play, but making themselves available.
Right.
I see where the person is sort of like where the person's mind is at, but I don't think it will work. Yeah, I mean, it won't work for very experienced players. It won't work for a player like Nicholas Paran. Because you just simply say, okay, you don't want me to play international cricket, I'll continue to play franchise cricket. The chance that won't work for a player like Hetman. Same thing with
no, but don't cut your Dwight. But it won't work for those players. But I don't think that the person is referring to those players. Those horses are already bolted. We're talking about a up and coming player, because we know, and it's a fact, it's out there. You cannot make any real money in T20 cricket unless you represent the international team. So I don't think that the players really talking about those horses that have been bolted already. Go ahead.
Well, I understand it from that point of view. But at the same point in time, we had a player like Chris Gale and a player like Pollard and a player like Bravo and a player like Narayan, who were all making lots of money from T20 cricket without playing for an international team. So my concern is understand what I'm saying, Basil. I'm agreeing with some parts of the argument. What I'm looking at is the sustainability of it. So it works initially. It works initially before a player is established. But once a player is established and is known, how do we get that player to continue to play for the West Indies? That is my concern. So I like the idea from the initial steps, the initial stages. Telling a young player who's unknown that you're not going to play on our T20 team unless you make yourself available for the other teams. All right. If you think that you're ready, we want you to play on those teams. But my greater concern is how do we sustain that over a period? Because once these players are identified by T20 franchise and are being paid and they perform well, they no longer necessarily need international cricket to continue to be selected. That's why I've said the best thing to do is to put a contract in front of the player.
Yeah, thank you very much. Basil, would you like to react to that scenario?
Look, the position I take, we're going to be dealing with these domestic leagues. I think a lot of them going to fall by the wayside anyway. Because
I've been saying that for years. Thank you. Welcome.
There are many of them not sustainable. I think some of those leagues that pop up are simply money laundering enterprises. So they're gonna fall by the wayside, right? But I think from a West Indies perspective, our perspective should be we have to have a structure in place, a high-performing cricket structure that facilitates producing very good players that could compete, elite players. So that means guy is not available, next man up. That has to be, because this is not going away anytime soon, because you're going to still have the big bashes around, the South Africa League around, the ITL League around, right? Which those 3 leagues could always clash with international fixtures because they don't have their own window. Now, Pakistan and IPL, because Pakistan now smartly, in my view.
Yeah, Basil, but to be fair though, we understand all of those metrics. What I want to ask you, are you prepared to bake your bread and then allow somebody else to sell it for you and don't capitalize on the product that you produce?
No, well, I think we putting the cart before the horse, because I don't think if we produce a good young player who has not been exposed at the international level, the chances of them getting pulled into one of those leagues before they get into the international level is
zero.
zero to nil, right? And
We
and,
know that is going to
one
be
of the
zero, but
things,
what is the thing
and,
after they start representing the
no,
West Indies? What is the way forward?
well, I am saying to you that we have to have some kind of once you're going to get, when you get into the international level, you will be signing a contract, right? This is the thing. You know, I put it like this. You know, like in the NBA and so on, you have a rookie contract. So a team is allowed to have a player for 4 years because they're going to be developing that player. And then the player then becomes a restricted free agent where you still have forced dibs. Even if somebody wants them, you can match. And then when they go through that process, then they become an unrestricted free agent. So we have to have something similar. You will sign a 3 or 4 year contract with the West Indies team. And then after that, you know, you could talk about don't want to sign contract or whatever the case may be. But we're looking to get our return on investment.
So
I totally agree.
Yeah, and I know that's a position that you have put forward, Dwight Chateau. But the obvious question there now, it is not like a football league in the US where
I
England, like the England Premier League, where if a player is not performing, you cannot move him on and sell him to another club and recoup your money, but you'll still have to pay him at the same time. How do you get out of that?
No, you have the contract, but you have the right to cut bait after each year.
Good point.
So if that player is coming up to scratch, you could cut bait and have no penalties. But you have the right. You have
to renew the contract year after year for 4 years.
Over the 4 year period.
Or 5 years. Good
You
point.
just gotta structure the contract accordingly.